Grandmaster, Grand Line officers, distinguished guests, and brethren all, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some thoughts on the process by which we, as Masons, attempt to change the lives of the men who knock upon the door of Freemasonry. If you were lucky enough to hear our Grandmaster speak at one of the district meetings, you'll recall that he referred to the degrees of Freemasonry as a transformative experience. Transformative in that we theoretically receive a man into the craft, and that by the secrets of our art transform him into a better version of himself. This does not mean that he simply learns to act in a better manner, but that he actually becomes better. There is a subtle but imperative difference. The former is a method that allows us to merely act better when certain circumstances dictate. The latter is a fundamental change to a man's essence. Freemasonry has within the corpus of its ritual elements that we as leaders of the craft use to teach our initiates how to facilitate this process. This is the secrets of our art, which we refer to in the entered apprentice degree. However, our ritual also tells us that these secrets are veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. As leaders of your lodges, it is your duty to unlock the veiled and illustrated aspects of the ancient craft for our initiates by applying the secrets of our art, and thus allowing them to receive the transformative experience our Grandmaster refers to. However, we often fail at this task. The reasons for this are many, and time does not permit me to enumerate them all, so we will skip most of the history in order to concentrate on the problem and the solutions. In our present system, we rush our candidates through the degrees at an extremely rapid pace. Freemasonry has been called a progressive art, and this alludes to the idea that an initiate should not progress to the next degree until he has learned the lessons of his current degree. A fellowcraft uses the lessons that he learned as an entered apprentice in order to understand the lessons of the fellowcraft degree. In turn, those lessons are used to understand the great truths we are to acquire from the sublime degree of Master Mason. If one fails to learn the progressive lessons as he goes, the lessons of the subsequent degrees cannot be effectively incorporated, and the whole concept falls like a temple that was built on sand instead of the solid cornerstone that we all stood upon when we were placed in the northeast corner of the lodge. By what reasoning would someone attempt to learn trigonometry without first having mastered addition and subtraction, multiplication, and division? Such an attempt would be a recipe for failure. Yet this is analogous to the manner in which we train our candidates. Let us not be confused here, brethren. These secrets of our art we are discussing go well beyond memorizing the words and actions of the ritual. These secrets are the means by which we unlock the aspects which our ritual refers to as being veiled and illustrated. The word veiled clearly indicates that they are hidden. That is, they are not plainly stated in the ritual. They are beyond it. The ritual, as we perform it, is not veiled, at least not from us, yet it contains the veiled aspect. This we clearly say to the candidate when he is standing in the northeast corner. So, if these secrets are outside of and in addition to the material contained in the official standard of work and the Bonson manual, how are we to know them ourselves so that we can in turn teach them to our novices? And the answer is that you have to be taught this from your lodge leaders, and for nearly all of us, this has simply not been the case. These veiled aspects of the craft are simply no longer being passed on. Only the unveiled parts of the ritual are, that being what is contained in the pages of the official standard of work and the Bonson manual. There are two important distinctions that I feel compelled to make. First, that everything you need to know in order to fulfill your quest for enlightenment is contained within the ritual, although it isn't explained in clear text of the Bonson Manual or the ciphered work of the Official Standard of Work, the OSW. It is veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. It is our job to unveil the allegory and decipher the symbols. Esotericists often fall into the trap of looking outside of Masonry for secrets which are contained within their own ritual. The great light in Masonry would remind us that neither shall they say here, lo here, lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. This lesson can be applied here in the fact that as the secret of the lost word is with us always, and the key to finding it is hidden within our ritual. The second distinction is that you simply cannot begin to unravel the hidden lessons of the ritual until you know all of the ritual. If you want to become a fully developed, that is, transformed Master Mason, you must first learn all of the ritual, and then use the secrets of our art to decipher and comprehend its hidden meaning. Let us review. So far, we've discussed that Freemasonry is meant to be a transformative experience, that the means by which we teach this transformation is concealed within the ritual. It is the job of the leaders of the lodge to teach this. They should do so by using the secrets of our art. Often the current lodge leaders were not taught these secrets themselves, and this causes a breakdown in the system. Everything we need to know for this work is contained within the ritual, and it is possible to decipher it. And finally, that the first step in doing this must be to learn all of the ritual. Now let's spend a few minutes discussing the process by which we currently advance candidates. In our current system, there seems to be an all-out sprint from the petitioning to the raising. I don't have data on this, but my experience is that a good candidate will be ready to advance from entered apprentice to fellow craft in maybe 6 or 8 weeks, and then from fellow craft to Master Mason in maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Some are quicker, some are slower, but the point is that we are moving them through these degrees at a very rapid pace. Why? If Masonry truly is a progressive art, and if we can agree that one needs to actually learn the lessons and not just the words of a catechism in order to advance, then by what reasoning can we expect this to happen in a matter of weeks? The answer is that we can't. The entered apprentice is expected to both learn and apply in his life matters related to materialism, the false self or ego, the tenets, the heavenly and the cardinal virtues in his place in the universe. All of this is in addition to memorizing the words of his catechism. The short duration between the degrees of fellow craft and Master Mason holds the same challenge. Lessons of balance and equilibrium, the Neoplatonic aspects of man, sacred geometry, man's understanding of his place in the world related to his limited senses, the trivium and quadrivium of the classical world, an introduction to sacrifice, and finally how to journey to the innermost recesses of his being are all presented to the candidate, and at least a basic understanding of them is critical to the final lesson of transcendence presented to him in the Master Mason's degree. To think that these lessons can be grasped, let alone implemented in a fellow craft in mere weeks, is foolishness. Yet we do it anyway. And again I ask, why? We even have a doggone regulation, 73-6 in the code, which states, if an entered apprentice or fellow craft fails to present himself prepared for advancement within 6 months after initiation or passing, he must apply in writing to the lodge for advancement. In the event more than 2 years have passed since his initiation or passing, the application shall be forwarded to the Grand Secretary and referred to a committee, and the whole process starts over again. You can read the rest of it for yourself. If we can agree that in Masonry there are secrets which are veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols, and that we are to use the secrets of our art to teach them to our initiates, and that it is critical to do this before the candidates are advanced to the next degree, then it is foolhardy to think that we are accomplishing this within the compressed timeline in which we routinely advance our initiates. Does anyone really think that we are succeeding in this intention? Perhaps this is why our attrition rate is so great. Perhaps if we were to teach these lessons, in addition to the words which we use to conceal them, we may deliver greater value and entice a few more of our young brothers to stay the course. How can we possibly think that skipping these lessons and rushing to an end will pay benefits? Of course, this theory presupposes the benefit, doesn't it? If the benefit we seek is directed towards the candidate and his self-improvement during his journey towards transformation, then it makes no sense whatsoever. However, perhaps I've confused the objective. If the goal is to get him his dues card, then things become more clear. A dues card. The word card implies membership in an administrative sense. It's a symbol which allows a brother to attend lodge and to visit other lodges and enjoy all the benefits of membership. Since this august body has thrice refused to allow entered apprentices to attend lodge meetings by giving the worshipful masters the option of opening on the first degree, then perhaps rushing them through the degrees in order to allow them to attend and receive Masonic instruction within the sacred retreat of the Master Mason's Lodge has some validity. But we've already established that we're not teaching these veiled and illustrated lessons, because they become mostly lost to us. Likely, the first word on this card, dues, gives us a better clue as to the reason for our rush to the raising. For once a member crosses the coveted finish line of the third degree, once we have shared the great mystical and spiritual lesson of the ages with our candidate, then we can get his darn money, and often cram him immediately into an officer's chair. Our grand leadership is progressive and proactive. They are constantly, rightly urging us to make Masons, not just members. They understand the value of initiating men of high quality into this ancient and honorable fraternity. Money is not their main concern. Good Masons are their concern. We've somehow developed this culture of expeditious candidate advancement. However, it happened long before any of them knocked at the door of Freemasonry. So it's not really their fault. Neither is it your fault, for the same reasons. But I have hope that someday this system can be amended to better fit the development of the candidates and not the need of the budget. So far, we've been discussing the problem. I would now like to move on to some possible solutions. In a perfect world, perhaps our rules and culture would allow initiates to advance at their own pace. Perhaps they would be allowed to attend lodge while remaining in the degree in which they are currently studying until their mentors had decided that they were ready to advance, regardless of timelines, expectations, the dreaded Regulation 73.6. Then, when they were properly prepared, they could apply to move to the lessons of the next degree. Then, during their degree, when the principal officers ask the candidate's guide if he is worthy and well qualified and duly and truly prepared, we could truthfully answer yes, knowing that the question applies to the state of his inner development and not just to the way that he is wearing his clothing and the fact that he had memorized the words of a catechism. But a time such as this is going to require a cultural shift which is still far in the future. In the meantime, we have this system in which we currently reside. For the foreseeable future, we will still rush candidates through and accept the devaluation of the essence of Freemasonry that comes along with it. But there is hope. There is a way that we can make the current system work better. Not perfectly, but better. Just as the substitute word is a pale surrogate for the lost word, we will have to make do with a proxy system until we evolve back to a true initiatic system as I believe was envisioned by our forefathers. If we cannot slow our current system down enough to teach our initiates the lessons as they advance at their natural rate, our only recourse is to teach them after they have been raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason. If we are forced by our own rules and culture to gallop them through the degrees, then once we have done this, we simply must stop, catch our breath, and then revisit the universal truths they were supposed to have learned as they progressed through the degrees. Move them through at the corporate pace if we must, but then go back through the work and teach them what they were denied due to our current zealousness for membership. As leaders in your lodges, it is incumbent upon you to teach them. Let us again review. You were earlier introduced to the concept that Freemasonry is meant to be a transformative experience, that the means by which we teach this transformation is concealed within the ritual, and it's the job of the leaders of the lodge to teach this using the secrets of our art to the younger members. Often the current lodge leaders were not taught these secrets themselves. Everything we need to know for this work is contained within the ritual, and it is possible to decipher it, and that the first step in doing this must be to learn all of the ritual. To this, we advance our candidates at a pace which does not allow them time to learn the lessons fully, that this culture and its rules are not likely to change anytime soon, that if we're going to really teach our initiates, we have to find a substitute way of instructing them. And that way is to revisit the teachings of the degrees after they have been raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason, and that this responsibility falls on the leaders of the lodges. At this point, you are likely thinking that there is a problem, and you would be correct. Since the system has been broken in a manner that Freemasonry is no longer teaching the veiled and illustrated lessons and the secret of our art by which we teach them, you were likely never taught this yourself. And if you were never taught this, how can you be expected to teach others? Herein lies the dilemma. The answer is a very long and multifaceted discussion, but today we're going to discuss 3 simple things that you can do to fulfill your obligation to teach the members of your lodge. And I will very briefly discuss the Speaker's Bureau, the Middle Chamber program, and our ritual itself. The Speaker's Bureau is easily accessible through the Educational Resources portal on the Grand Lodge website. It offers a very easy way to bring a real live speaker into your lodge. Speakers offer a variety of topics, all of which are informative and interesting. The topics offered by speakers are listed on the site, and it's easy to find the ones that discuss the more esoteric and transformative aspects of the ritual. Even if you are not well versed in these aspects of initiatic development, this tool offers you an easy way to bring it into your lodge for both your own development and that of your candidates and of your members. The Middle Chamber program is a more in-depth course on the spiritual and philosophical aspects of the ritual. It is a year-long study course in this work, and it is the product of the forward-thinking nature of the Grand Lodge. To my knowledge, our Grand Lodge is the first in the country to offer this type of training. Even if you are not personally interested in pursuing this class, simply being aware of it will allow you to offer the experience to the members of your lodge and thus take the burden of teaching off of your shoulders. The last is working within your ritual. What I'm suggesting goes well beyond merely practicing the words and the movements. The idea is to discuss the ritual in depth and what meaning it holds for you. I've seen this used to great effect. Worshipful Brother Dale Goforth, the master of my home lodge, Blackmer 127, has utilized this technique, and the results were impressive. As Masonic education, he simply started reciting parts of the ritual, and every few sentences he would stop and ask what the members thought those lines might be alluding to. The range and depth of answers was refreshing. In the absence of more structured education, I urge you to use this technique. It requires almost no pre-planning or logistics. Simply discuss the meaning of the ritual in depth, in open lodge. Even answers which are off base offer lessons in themselves. Keep in mind that everything you need to recover the lost word is contained within your ritual. It's just veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Brethren, these are 3 easy ways you can begin the process of changing our culture from a membership and numbers-driven mentality into a temple of wisdom, which teaches its initiates how to transform themselves into enlightened Master Masons. I urge you to put these things into practice. It is your obligation and your duty to do so, and I have every confidence that you will succeed. Grand Master, I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important matter. God bless the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.